Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back to the Ecom Dispensary, knowledge drop number 41. In this episode, we're talking about why you should ignore 99% of the quote unquote advice that you get. This is something that I kind of had to learn the hard way. And I think it's maybe some people, it's just like, it's kind of crazy how I feel like there's very much two different like categories of people in the world. And it's like, I don't know. I hate to categorize it like this because it's just like kind of cliche, but there really are just like normies. And then I don't know, like for lack of a better term, like people like us who are involved in like business and personal development and are attuned to things financially. Just I don't know, just like all of these things that kind of we focus our time and attention on and stuff. Like I feel like a lot of people don't really do that. And if you are that kind of person, especially when you're young, this is so prominent. You're going to get advice from people who are just not that kind of person, and that advice is just not going to serve you really at all. Maybe it could, but for the most part, like I think you really got to ignore most advice that you get.
Yeah, I think that's the episode there. Great point. I think we wrap it up.
All right, guys, we'll see you in the next one. No, probably not. There's some reasoning that goes into this. We're not just saying that you should ignore people because they're dumb. They don't know what they're talking about. Although that is true in a lot of cases. But I think if we're obviously involved in business and self-development, all these things that I just mentioned, and because of that, you guys who are listening to this are also involved in that sort of thing. You want to live a really solid lifestyle. You want to make a lot of money. You want to have a lot of free time. Be able to do the things that you want to do. Travel, whatever it is that you want to do. Maybe you just want to sit around. I don't know. Whatever it is that you want to do, you want to be able to have the freedom to do that. And when you're kind of in that bucket, especially when you're involved with online business, you have to realize that like 99% of people in this world, they don't know shit about online business. They don't know shit about marketing. They don't know shit about like just all of these things that are going to contribute to a better lifestyle. Like most people, even people who are like your close friends, your family members, they don't really understand what's going on here. And if this is the route that you want to go, if you want to kind of go away from the traditional route, you want to start an online business of some sort, have some sort of independent income, just kind of live life on your own terms I feel like that's kind of the best way to put it. If that's what you want to do, you have to realize that no one really understands that for the most part. People like me and Scotty, we might, but the people in your real life don't really understand that. And you kind of have to ignore what they say about what you should do. And this can be really tough because a lot of these people that are going to give you advice, especially like this is just especially like I was saying earlier, this is especially relevant when you're young, when you're in high school, when you're in college, maybe a little bit out of college, and you're kind of trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. You're going to have the people that are close to you giving you their thoughts because the people, for the most part, the people who are close to you, they want the best for you, and they want to see you succeed. They want to see you be happy, and they're going to give you advice on what they think you should do. The thing is, a lot of the people, if you want to be successful in business, you want to have this kind of lifestyle, you're going to be if you take advice from the people that are closest to you, you're going to be taking advice from people who are not in a position that you want to be in, and that is not something that we recommend doing. I think as a general rule, you really only want to take advice from people who are in a position that you want to be in. Now, it could be very different depending on the specific situation. Just because maybe you have a friend who's like a loser, but he's really good at surfing. If you want to get good at surfing, you should probably listen to him about surfing. But at the same time, you probably shouldn't listen to him for financial advice or for business advice. You should only really take advice from people on the specific things that they are experts in, and if they are in a position that you want to be in. As an example, when I was kind of playing with the idea of dropping out of college and kind of going all in on online business, literally, everyone that I mentioned that to said it was a terrible idea. It was like, they laughed at me. They were like, that's dumb. Like, why would you do that? Everyone said that it was a good idea to just stay in school. My mom, my dad, my aunt, and everyone that I kind of mentioned that to, they were just like, no, don't do that. That's a bad idea. everyone said it was a bad idea. But if I'd listened to all of those people who were giving me advice that, they all had my best interest in mind, but if I'd listened to them, I think my life now would be significantly worse than it is if I had not taken the route that I had. Now, obviously, I'm not necessarily a huge proponent of just dropping out of college the day that you make your first sale on Shopify. And, I'm not saying that that's like necessarily a smart move for everyone. It worked for me, and I'm glad it did.
You said that most people close to you, they want the best for you. I think that's somewhat untrue, and not in a mean or nefarious way, but your mom wants you to be safe and she wants you to be happy, I guess, in general terms. But your mom doesn't, I don't think your mom really cares about you achieving your goals a lot of the time. Your mom, if you're currently in high school or college, if you want to spend your days playing golf and fucking chicks, your mom does not care about you achieving that goal. Your mom wants you to be safe. At some point, find a nice lady or a nice man that you're going to marry. Your mom does not care about you achieving your goals. She wants the best for you, only in as much as she doesn't want you to be a complete and utter fuck up and ruin your life. Your mom wants you to not fuck up more than she wants you to succeed.
And she wants those grandkids.
She wants those grandkids. Yeah. I think there's a thing there where, especially with parents, they want you to not fuck up more so than they want you to succeed.
Yeah.
And they're always going to be sort of risk averse in that sense. They're never going to be in favor of starting businesses for the most part. They want you to take the safe path.
Yep.
And the safe path, if your goal is to play golf 4 hours a day, the safe path is a guaranteed failure. So you have to ask yourself, when they're giving you advice, are they optimizing for the same goal in their head that you are? Are they, yeah, that's really the thing, is like, when they're giving advice, are they giving the advice that leads to your goal? Or are they giving advice that leads to their goal for you?
That's an interesting way to put it. I like that. I think that the one really key point that you just said is it's kind of all about the risk and like the kind of, the people who are close to you, that they want you to succeed, but they want you to succeed in like the way that is going to give you the, let me try to, I'm kind of mucking this up here. They want you to do the thing that has the highest chance of working out for you, in like the sense of what Scotty was saying, that you don't become just a huge fuck up. They don't really care if you become a multimillionaire, but they don't want you living on the side of the street. So they're going to encourage the route that gives you the highest likelihood of just not being homeless and, just like being a somewhat productive member of society. They're not going to advocate for the riskier route of starting your own business. That's kind of the main thing that we're talking about in this context. They're not going to advocate for that because, realistically speaking, statistically, the likelihood of you succeeding with that is not as high as it is if you just take the traditional route and just get a job. Because to them, success isn't becoming a millionaire or, starting a successful business. Success to them is just that you live a decent life, and, that they don't feel like that they messed you up as a child. Because, realistically, parents, they want to feel like they did a good job raising you. And if you fail miserably at life and you're homeless or whatever it may be, they're going to feel like a piece of shit because they're going to feel like it was their fault. So I think a lot of their decisions are going to be based around that kind of thought process, where they just want you to succeed in the kind of like minimal sense, but they're much more risk averse, and they would much rather see you succeed in a small way with a higher likelihood of that happening versus succeeding in a huge way, but having a lower likelihood of that happening.
Yeah, they want you to not fuck up because that reflects badly on them. And it's different once you're actually running your own business. Then they want you to succeed in your wildest, to achieve whatever you want to achieve. But when you're getting started and there's like traditional path or this weird non-traditional business path, it's all about not failing. That's what they want. They want you to not be a failure. And it's a weird thing because if you succeed, they don't get the benefits of your success, sort of thing. Whereas if you fail, they have to live with your failure, and that reflects on them. Um, it's a weird thing. It's a weird sort of dichotomy in what they're optimizing for and what you're optimizing for. And at the end of the day, I think what you have to realize, and this is hard to realize when you're really young and you're sort of stuck in, maybe you're living at home, you're certainly surrounded by friends a lot of the time at school, college, whatever, or you're just hanging out with friends a lot. Nobody else lives with the consequences of your decisions or your success or failure in life. Nobody else lives with those consequences. You notice it in small ways, like people encouraging you to smoke weed, do drugs, drink, go to McDonald's. Nobody else lives with the consequences of you feeling shitty the next day. It's all on you. And it's kind of the same way on a bigger scale in business. Like, will be tell you to not do it, that's risky, whatever, but they don't live with the consequence of having to go to that job for 40 years that you don't like. And on the flip side, if you succeed, they don't get to live with the benefits of you succeeding. They don't get the upside. So at the end of the day, you're the only one that lives with the consequences, positive or negative, of your decisions. And I think when you realize that and really realize what that means, it puts it into perspective of whether you should listen to people's advice or not. Because they can give advice all they want, they can be unhappy about your decisions all they want, but at the end of the day, you're the only one that lives with the consequences. So I think that really puts it in perspective.
Yeah. I think it does, man. I think it does. And it can be tough because, especially like, I just, I had this kind of situation a little bit myself. And I've just, I've met a lot of people who've been in similar situations like this with their parents. And it can be a really tough situation because your parents are obviously a pretty important influence in your life. And if you're doing something that they just flat out strongly disagree with, that they really don't want you to do, it can put a lot of like strain on your relationship with them. And, sometimes that can be good. Sometimes that can be bad. I would say in most cases, it's probably not ideal. Um, but it's just like, it kind of comes with the nature of what you're doing. If you want to start your own business, starting any sort of business is by default going to be more risky than taking the traditional route of going to college, getting a degree, getting a job, et cetera, et cetera. So kind of going off of what we were just talking about, it makes sense that they would try to discourage you from doing the riskier thing. But at the same time, it's your life. And like Scotty was saying, you're the one that has to live with the consequences of your actions. And you really just can't put too much stock into the advice of people who are not going to have to live with the consequences of those actions. And it's pretty crazy. Like, even I remember when I was visiting some family before I dropped out of school. It was like the Christmas before, I dropped out of school in January, like right after that Christmas. And I was kind of floating the idea around just to see what my family would say. I was talking to my uncle, and my uncle is like this particular uncle is like the most successful uncle in my family. He's, multimillionaire. He's been the vice president of a company since he was like 25 and still there like 30 years later. He's done very, very well for himself. He didn't go to college at all. Yet when I was talking to him about it, he was dead set that I should finish college, that I should not drop out, that I should absolutely do college. Which is kind of funny because, we were talking about like, you shouldn't take advice from people who aren't in a position that you'd want to be in. And realistically, like, generally speaking, I'd say that my uncle is in a position that I'd want to be in. Like, he's very successful. He's done very well for himself. He lives a great life. But even him, he was giving me that advice because he knew, I think the reason that he was saying that is largely because, he knows the way that my parents feel about it, or he knew the way that my parents felt about it. He knew the way that everyone else was feeling about it. So I think he just kind of went along with that. But you just got to you got to keep that in mind, man. And you just got to understand that if you go this route when trying to start a business of your own, no one is really going to have great things to say about it. No one's going to be like super encouraging about it. And honestly, if you do find people who are, like, those are probably the real ones that you you should probably spend more time with. but you just can't take, you can't put too much stock into it. And you just really gotta, like, I'd say the best route for the most part when people are giving you that kind of advice is the old Wall Street Playboys mantra of smile and nod. You know, smile and nod, act like you agree, but on the inside, you do not agree, and you're not actually taking their words to heart, and you're just kind of doing your own thing. And that's really what it comes down to. You got to do your own thing.
I mean, it's tough too, to be honest. If you're telling people that, oh, I want to drop out, I'm going to pursue this business idea. If you've had no success and you're not actually doing anything yet, maybe you're trying something, but it's not working. Like I wouldn't really be super encouraging of that either.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, cool, like keep doing what you're doing, but I know the odds, not even the odds of success, but I know the odds of you stopping and not taking this seriously in 3 months, 6 months from now. So it's not like I'd be encouraging if I had people in my close circle or whatever being like, yeah, I'm gonna drop out, I'm gonna do fucking drop shipping. Like, cool, you've launched 2 stores, none of them have made a sale. Like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You really want to make it happen, you can make it happen while you're in school, while you're working a job. You don't need to drop out first. You can get success first and then drop out. And all this advice is sort of relative. Once you're making money, the outside advice is kind of muted. Because what are they gonna say? Money talks.
Exactly. And that's a huge reason why I didn't tell anyone. Like I kind of like I told a few people in my family, like it not told like I didn't tell them that I dropped out. Like I'd floated the idea to them just to kind of see what they would say. And because literally everyone had something negative to say about it, that is a huge reason that I didn't tell anyone when I actually did drop out. Like my parents were the only people that knew. My friends didn't know, none of my extended family knew, no one knew. And I'm so glad that I did that because that gave me the time
from
to.
the thousands that followed you on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I suppose so. I suppose.
Making moves in silence, as they say.
Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, I mean that's why I didn't tell anyone. And I think that was a great move. And then, once I was making some money, then all of a sudden all this kind of goes out the window because if you can support yourself and you don't need anyone else's financial support, especially like your parents, well, it doesn't really matter what they have to say so much anymore now, does it?
That is kind of how it goes.
So that is why we think that for the most part, you should probably ignore 99% of advice, especially if you're a young person with high aspirations and you're a relatively smart person who's driven and wants to succeed in business. Most people aren't like that. The advice that they give you is not going to be super applicable to you. And you should probably just ignore it and focus on yourself and then flex on everyone once you are successful.
So that they dislike you and hope you fail.
Yeah, probably don't do that last part. Probably just be a very humble, kind, low key type person and just, as they say, make those moves in silence.
I love how you say I didn't tell anyone, but you were fucking tweeting screenshots of your first sale and talking about how you dropped out.
Well, yeah, but none of the people in my real life followed me on Twitter back then.
Oh, gotcha.
I made a different Twitter account. I didn't use my own Twitter account that I had at the time.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, that has been episode number 166. Why you should ignore 99% of quote unquote advice. We'll talk to you guys in the next one.